This is how Peter treats his family.
We can't do it! You're too heavy!
Keep going, you're almost there! I found a rock I like.
And this is how Stan treats his family.
Why?
'Cause you're my one and only, baby.
These two shows have the same creator, but while one has aged like wine, the other feels like milk left out in the sun, and it's not hard to guess which is which. Now, this is the part where I bring this up. A while back, I made a video claiming Family Guy was the funnier show. Let's just say I had American Dad fans storming my comments like I just committed the most sacrilegious act ever, but fine, I'll take the L. So, I went back, hours of binging American Dad, and now, I get it. I finally get why people love it, and why Family Guy is more hated than the person who holds up the drive-thru line digging for exact change. Seriously, may your fries always be cold. Family Guy was the first Seth MacFarlane brainchild, and when it dropped in 1999, nothing touched it. Honestly, it was just outright insane, loud, and hilarious. Then, Seth put out American Dad in 2005. At first, it looked like the knockoff brand. Family plus talking animal? Check. Except this time they threw in an alien. It was supposed to be a side project. The little sibling. But something strange happened. American Dad didn't just survive, it grew, found its own rhythm and built a fan base. And now it's edging Family Guy out completely. It's not just the better show, but it's also the one that stayed good, while Family Guy collapsed under the weight of its own hype. Kind of like when the little sibling becomes a doctor and the older one's still explaining why their YouTube channel is about to blow up. I swear, I'm not calling out my brother. So, what makes American Dad work while Family Guy keeps getting worse and worse? The first reason American Dad wins hearts, it's not so far-fetched. The characters feel grounded. The family is built on personalities that stay consistent. Stan is always the stubborn dad blinded by patriotism. Francine is always the supportive wife with flashes of wild unpredictability. Steve is the awkward teen, and Haley is always the daughter clashing with her father's rigid worldview. The roles don't shift just to fit a punchline. That stability gives American Dad a stronger foundation. It means the comedy grows out of who these characters are rather than whatever random gag the writers want to throw in. That's why its characters feel lived in and why the show keeps its fans.
Roger, wake up! I need you!
Okay, here we go. I knew it was only a matter of time.
You were right. Francine's hot for that street racer.
Oh. Awkward.
Family Guy, on the other hand, treats its characters like props. Peter can be loving in one episode, monstrous in the next, depending on the joke. Not even sure he has ever been loving in any episode. Stan and Peter are cut from the same cloth, but the stitching is wildly different. On the surface, both are overbearing husbands with a knack for taking the simplest situation and turning it into something else. But where Stan's flaws are tied to his rigid worldview and obsession with patriotism, Peter is just a walking tornado of stupidity. Now, Stan's mistakes often come from his desperate need to live up to his ideals. That is protecting his country, raising the perfect son, and keeping his family under control. And even when he messes up, he surely learns his lessons at the end of the day, and his character develops for the better. Peter, meanwhile, doesn't even think far enough ahead to have ideals. Asking him to even think is asking too much already. He just acts and blows up everything in sight. This doesn't mean Stan isn't usually up to some crazy CIA or personal stunt of his own, but the key difference is intention. With Stan, you can almost sympathize while laughing out loud at the same time. He wants to do right, even if his methods are unhinged. In his mind, it's all for the greater good. Peter, on the other hand, is a human wrecking ball driven by impulse. His action doesn't come from principle, it comes from sheer stupidity and, over the years, just being mean and cruel.
We'll never make it on foot. We gotta steal that kid's jet ski.
Peter, the boat's right there. We'll totally make it.
It's the only way, guys!
Peter, we're now literally standing on the boat.
And sure, Stan versus Peter is one thing, but swap them out for Francine and Lois and the gap only gets wider. Not everyone is a fan of sitcom moms. Most people even consider them the weakest link. But you could never say that about Francine. She's arguably one of the best characters on American Dad. She's got consistently funny lines, she's genuinely likable, and she even feels like the kind of person you could imagine dating in real life. I'm sure I speak for most of us. Yeah? Or is it just me? Anyways, moving on. Her backstory adds layers too. She was a wild horse in her youth, and had her moments. But once she married Stan, the one thing you can attest to is that she stayed loyal. Was she occasionally chaotic? Yes, but still committed. And then everything she does, as crazy as it may get, is for the good of her family. Despite how Stan can be overbearing at times, Francine would readily remind him of what matters most. Lois, meanwhile, has cheated on Peter multiple times and spends the rest of the episode being a hypocrite by doing the same things she criticized Peter for. And the way she treats her family, you'll find Francine calling out Stan for when he goes overboard and trying to make a man out of Steve, or when Stan is completely out to put Haley in her place and Francine has to be the one to step in and getting back to his senses. But Lois, she would literally join Peter in bullying Meg and treating her like some stranger and not her own daughter. What really sets Francine apart is that she could hold her own as a standalone character. If Stan disappeared tomorrow, you'd still want to watch Francine's antics. Lois, on the other hand, mostly leans on Peter and the rest of the Griffin family to stay relevant. Without them, she's flat and, yes, boring. And then there's the dynamic with their husbands. Francine and Stan both match each other brilliantly. Their energies and personality means they'll have clashes, reconciliations, and occasional team-ups, and it's all something to look forward to. Like the time Stan kept surprising Francine, but the kind of surprise Francine was expecting.
Oh my God!
It was all fun and games until Francine decided to give him a scare too.
Where'd she go? She usually starts dinner at 6.
Got you!
How? You were... I saw you!
Come on, it's funny!
Ooh, she got me. She got me good.
That scene never gets old. However, compare that to whenever Lois and Peter appear together, you just know the cringe is on its way. They're both frustrating to watch, and if it's not that, then it's the episode leaning on some lazy physical gag or shock humor instead of actual character-driven comedy. In short, Francine is a fully fleshed out character who elevates American Dad, while Lois too often fades into the background of Family Guy. Another important point to note is that at the end of the day, the Smiths clearly love and care about each other. Fans don't have to dig for it, it's obvious. The catch is that the way the show is usually outrageous. Take Stan, for example. The man literally lobotomized his wife and left her in a psych ward for nearly 2 weeks. Why? Because he forgot their anniversary and thought the CIA-level brain wipe was somehow a grand gesture to make it up to her. It's insane logic, sure, but the core is still there. Stan was desperate to show Francine he cared, even if his version of romance looks like a classified government experiment gone wrong.
I did it for love! Why does any man go to great lengths? For the love of his woman.
Love? 3 days in a loony bin?
And a bucket of chicken.
Now, picture Family Guy in the same scenario. If Peter forgot his anniversary, he wouldn't try to repair things in any meaningful way. He'd probably end up physically hurting Lois, land her in the hospital, then pour boiling apology soup in her IV while making a cutaway. And in the very next scene, he'd act clueless about why she's even upset. That's the difference. With American Dad, the love is real. You can feel it through the madness. With Family Guy, the family exists as props for Peter's gag, and there's nothing genuine holding it together. And speaking of holding it together, that is also another reason as to why fans love American Dad more. The character pairings just work better. Outside of Brian and Stewie, Family Guy doesn't really have a duo worth caring about. Meanwhile, American Dad is full of dynamic duos. You've got Stan and Roger's unholy alliance, Stan and Steve's weird father-son bonding attempts, Francine and Roger stirring up trouble, and Francine and Steve teaming up for their own mother and son shenanigans. No, don't bring up that one episode. Yeah, you know, the one that aged like milk? Dang it. There's also Roger and Steve being pure comedy, and even better, their team up is Wheels and the Leg Man. The setup is, of course, the same. They show up to investigate a crime, follow some leads, only to find out Roger is the one who had committed the crime in the first place. Okay, the common thing here is Roger, and well, for good reason. He's the best part of the show, something I'm going to explain much sooner. And still on the topic of pairings, let's not forget Jeff and Haley, who somehow make the stoner and girlfriend pairing both funny and kind of relaxing.
What?
What?
Honestly, I wouldn't mind hanging out with them having me pass, I make YouTube videos. That's obviously the best use of my time. Nothing else I'd rather be doing. Totally fulfilling. Yep. The difference is that these pairings aren't random, they're built from actual character development. American Dad puts in the work to make its cast consistent, so when the chaos breaks out, it feels like a natural extension of the story, not a forced gag. The relationships feel real, and the comedy grows out of them. Family Guy, they left the group chat. Sure, you'll get a random moment where Peter and Quagmire do something insane, but it's never about their dynamic. Not at all. The entire aim is for the next shock joke. Another weak spot is Family Guy's obsession with pop culture references. Every other joke leans on some old TV show, celebrity scandal, or random nod to the news cycle. I mean, really, really low-hanging fruits. American Dad doesn't lean on that crutch nearly as much. Like I pointed out, it branches out, using humor that comes from the characters' personalities, their relationships, and their ridiculous but grounded behavior. That's why American Dad still feels fresh and watchable and gets all the flowers it deserves.
Who's that?
Oh, don't worry about him. That's just a nobody who lives in the basement.
A nobody? Who farted? Nobody!
Another big reason American Dad holds up better is its commitment to coherent plots. For the most part, every episode feels like an actual story. There's a setup, conflict, escalation, and payoff. You know, the way TV's supposed to work. Even when the plot gets wild, and they often do, there's still a structure that makes sense within the world. A Stan mission gone wrong, a Roger disguise spiraling out of control, or Steve trying to impress a girl or his peers in school, it all ties back to the characters and their motivations. Family Guy, on the other hand, has been coasting for years on the throw everything at the wall and maybe something will stick approach. And sometimes it does stick. But most of the time, you're just watching a chain of disconnected bits. And that right there is what sets American Dad apart from Family Guy. American Dad keeps things fresh. Meanwhile, Family Guy has fallen into the trap of recycling itself over and over until the episodes all blur together like that one leftover casserole in the fridge you keep reheating, even though it stopped tasting good 3 days ago. And yes, I just described half my diet. Now, Family Guy used to feel wild and unpredictable, but now most episodes just feel like something you've already seen. The setup, the punchline, the cutaway, it's all just copy-paste, and you can always expect Peter falling down the stairs and twisting up his arm. Yay, what a surprise.
Lois, what the hell?
But the beloved American Dad is beloved because it takes chances. The show loves experimenting with formats and tones, and a lot of the time it actually pulls it off. Rabbit Ears feels like a creepy VHS horror short. Lost in Space plays like a legit space opera. Cheek to Cheek, a stripper story, could pass for a prestige TV drama. Even the Christmas episode, Rapture's Delight, is a great episode on every poll, and the best part is that these aren't just good cartoon episodes, they're good television, period. And when you put American Dad's tearjerker next to Family Guy's Star Wars specials, the difference couldn't be clearer. Family Guy just dressed its characters in Star Wars cosplay and sprinkled in some of its Herbert the Pervert jokes and called it a day. But American Dad built its own full-blown spy movie parody from scratch. One feels like a skit, the other feels like a story. Even when it comes to the weird stuff, American Dad commits way better in both style and execution. Family Guy has Peter fight a chicken for 5 minutes straight with zero consequences. Meanwhile, American Dad is building full story arcs around aliens, clones, body swaps, and CIA gadgets gone wrong. It takes the absurd and makes it part of the story. That's the difference. But where fans couldn't stand Family Guy anymore has got to be when the writers suddenly decided, what if we make it violent and bloody? That's got to make it better, right? But who's gonna tell them? Anyone? Fine, I will. Let me just get a megaphone. No, it doesn't make it better. That's just part of the problem. Family Guy leans way too much on violence and gore as comedy material. Yeah, Deadpool does the same and gets away with it, but you're not Deadpool, you're more like...
Call me Red Stool. The treatment didn't give me powers, but it did spread cancer to my anus.
Just call me anus of the morning, anus.
Honestly, it's ass. And no, that wasn't a pun on the song asking us to call him anus. Maybe a little bit. My point is, the writers think if Peter chops someone in half or smashes their face in, we're supposed to be rolling on the floor. That's their big card. Make it bloody, make it shocking, then laugh at the camera like that was comedy gold. Now, American Dad isn't squeaky clean either. Roger especially has done some wild stuff, but here's the difference. With American Dad, even when it dips into gore or crazy schemes, it's not the whole joke, it's not the only thing happening. Roger might kill someone off in one of his personas, but that persona has a story and a reason for existing, like the time he went after a couple of teens who took his limo service but refused to pay. They had no idea who they were messing with, but they sure found out. Insane, yes, but it tied back into his disguise and the plot of that episode. There was context, there was build-up. Family Guy doesn't bother with all that. They'll straight up throw Peter into a scene with a chainsaw, let him go on a rampage, and then cut to him grinning at the screen. That's the joke. Or worse, they'll have him buy a horse, play cowboy, and then tie Meg up and brand her with an iron for no reason at all.
All right, Meg, this is only gonna hurt for about 3 weeks.
And when those bits start to flop, which, mind you, happens a lot, they just toss in a cutaway like that somehow fixes it.
I haven't been this since I don't really know what I'm supposed to be doing
Very clever. Very, very clever. And yes, in case it isn't obvious, I'm being sarcastic. And here's the part people don't talk about enough. The tone of the humor. American Dad is dark. Sure, it has edgy moments, but most of the time its humor grows out of character flaws and human behavior. Stan's overblown patriotism, Roger's narcissism, Steve's awkwardness, and the comedy feels rooted in something. With Family Guy, though, so much of the humor is mean-spirited. It isn't just dark, it's antagonistic. When the whole punchline is just, let's humiliate Meg again, it stops being clever and just feels cruel. I don't laugh at those jokes anymore, they're depressing. And it's not just Meg either. Family Guy has a streak of being harsh for the sake of it. Whether it's Lois being dragged through endless cheating storylines, Quagmire's jokes that cross into straight up predatory territory, or Brian lecturing everyone like he's smarter than the room only to crash in hypocrisy, the tone is always nasty. It's like the writers think cruelty itself is funny, that if a joke cuts deep enough, it must automatically count as humor. The show has leaned so hard into this tone that it's become its identity. The constant cruelty has gone to the point that it's less like you're laughing with the characters and more like you're laughing at their suffering, and I'm just not sure how that's supposed to be fun. American Dad, by contrast, rarely goes for the throat just to be cruel. Roger will ruin people's lives and schemes, sure, but it's built into the crazy logic of his character. Stan might do something overbearing, but you can trace it back to his warped idea of protecting his family. Even the darker moments serve the story. Family Guy skips all that and just says, what if Peter sets Meg on fire? But
Hey, Meg, I lit your scalp on fire.
Don't worry, I'll put it out.
the really worst part, and honestly why Family Guy deserves the hate it gets, if you look deep into it, you'll see there's a problem with how the show treats its women. See how you all immediately agreed? I don't even have to over-explain. Lois is a bland character, and if the show doesn't know what to do with her in an episode, the go-to solution, how about we write her a lame mom joke?
Now, Mrs. Griffin, where did you go to college?
Groceries.
Are you available to work weekends?
Groceries.
Very impressive. This next one is a trick question. Groceries?
I'm hired.
Welcome aboard.
But it's not just Lois. What about Meg?
Shut up, Meg.
You're back!
Yay.
She's basically the joke, which is just everyone reminding her she exists and that she sucks. Bonnie, Joe's wife, isn't written any better, and Loretta, Cleveland's first wife, was just an outright cheat that didn't respect Cleveland at all. Barbara Pewterschmidt, you see? None is written to be a proper character, but with American Dad, the female characters actually matter. Francine and Haley aren't just background noise, they're crucial to the plot of the show and often drive it. Francine especially carries weight. In Killer Vacation, she literally helps Stan assassinate his target just so they can get back to relaxing. Haley also has standout moments and isn't treated like the butt of the joke every 2 seconds. And let's not forget Roger. At least half of his disguises are women, and the show has always leaned in his gender-bending antics without turning them into cheap punchlines. Family Guy, on the other hand, is so self-aware about his treatment of Meg that it straight up tells viewers they can skip her episodes. That says it all. But you know an episode you can't skip? Anyone that has Roger in it. I'll just go out on a limb and say it. Roger Smith is the greatest animated character of the past 20 years. Why? Well, because Roger isn't just one character, he's 1,000. Every time he throws on a wig, a mustache, or some bargain bin outfit, he instantly transforms into a new persona with its own voice, quirks, and full-blown backstory. And yes, all the craziness of Roger as well is channeled into the personas. This is an alien who, when he felt his acting chops were questioned, didn't just do a monologue, he resurrected his missing child persona, little Bonnie Ramirez, and framed Francine for her own kidnapping just so he could play both the victim and her court-appointed lawyer.
I'm gonna give the performance of my life as Little Bonnie, bringing you to the brink of conviction, only to be topped by my public defender character, Ed Dickel, the ultimate showman, who's gonna rake that little girl over the coals to get you off.
The commitment to the bit is terrifying and brilliant, and that's the thing, folks. His freedom from human morals lets the writers go to places other shows can't. Remember when he got into a petty argument over a cafe gig? He sold his soul to the devil for guitar skills, then tricked his rival into taking his eternal damnation. Classic Roger. Or the time he was hired to simply pretend to be Steve and ended up stealing a senator's daughter to crack dealers because he was short on cash. Most characters would have a crisis. Rogers has found it a tidy solution. And let's talk about the personas. They aren't just costumes, they're fully realized characters he becomes. He doesn't just pretend to be Ricky Spanish, he is Ricky Spanish. A whisper of pure menace that ruins lives. You see what I did with the whisper there? Simply couldn't resist. He's Jeannie Gold and Valak. He's Professor Dickens, Longbottom, and even Mr. Dingleberry, and the hundreds of characters he has been. He's not simply posing as them, each persona is a guaranteed ticket to a completely fresh plot. But the true magic is in the family's reaction. They enable him. They know he's a narcissistic sociopath, yet they can't quit him. I mean, Roger literally buried Francine alive just so Stan wouldn't find out he kissed her. And when the truth came out, he knocked Stan out and buried him too.
Because I was the one who kissed Francine. But it didn't mean anything. It was just a drunken slip-up.
Damn it, Roger, get me the hell out of here!
I'm just gonna give you some time to cool off.
I'm gonna rip you!
And what was Stan's big response when he finally got out? An ass whooping. Just an ass whooping. I remember I spilled juice on the rug once and got treated like I burned the house down. In one of my personal favorite episodes, This Great Space Roaster, Roger wanted to celebrate his birthday the way celebrities do, with a roast, which sounds perfect, right? A personality like Roger should thrive in a roast. Turns out he couldn't handle a single joke.
Why? Why would you do this? What did I ever do to any of you to make you say those incredibly hurtful things?
Are you serious?
Does it look like I'm not serious?
I mean, why ask to step into the kitchen if you can't handle the heat? And yes, I'm absolutely using that line to set up the fact that Roger retaliated by literally blowing up the Smiths' kitchen, hoping to take them out. Yep, instead of just sulking and moving on like a normal person, Roger plotted the perfect revenge. He pretended to turn over a new leaf, all smiles and forgiveness, while secretly arranging to take the Smiths out. When they finally realized what was going on, they didn't just run away, they ran to space. Because of course you can hide from Roger on Earth. I mean, ask Steve and Haley when they tried to hide from Valak and Jean Gold.
That maniac Valik will never find us here.
But imagine trying to run from an alien and you choose to go hide in space. Roger still tracked the family down and lined them up for his ultimate revenge. And what was it? Forcing them to roast each other. You'd expect him to have something meaner up his sleeve.
So, you're gonna roast us?
No, you're going to roast each other. And your zingers better be mean. If you try any weak sauce, I'm gonna give you such a zats. Oh! Now, Stan, roast Haley.
This dysfunctional back and forth between Roger and the Smiths is the real heart of the show. Roger provides the chaos, and the family provides just enough structure to make that chaos hilarious. They'll fight him, get betrayed by him, swear they're done with him, and then still go along with his nonsense the next episode. It's a cycle. Take the time Roger pretended to be a baby. The entire family was on board, cooing over him like he was the second coming. Stan, of course, refused. He stormed off in his usual macho way like he was too good to play along. And what happens? He ends up trapped in a bizarre TV station with a Frankenstein knockoff as the host, suffering through some twisted nightmare while the rest of the family is just at home pacifying Roger. By the time Stan escapes and comes crawling back begging to join in, Francine just hits him with a cold, "We're over that."
I'm here now, and I want to do what you want to do. I want to raise this child. Daddy's here.
I'm not doing that anymore.
Thank God.
That's the joke, and that's the beauty of it. The Smiths know exactly what Roger is scheming, but they still roll with it. He's the ultimate wild card, and the audience is forever waiting to see what card he'll pull from his endless, fabulous deck of disguises. And all of these reasons add up to why American Dad is loved, but Family Guy is hated. If you want to see other reasons as to why Family Guy is failing, check out this video on how Disney ruined Family Guy.